You think you are safe just because you do not write code. You think AI is only coming for software engineers? While you are a landlord, a restaurant owner, a rideshare driver, or the person selling coffee on the corner. So this storm will pass without touching your wallet. Wake up. I'm Max. I came from 5 years ahead. And where I'm standing, a whole lot of people outside tech are drowning because of layoffs that started inside tech. Listen carefully. When AI takes one office job, it does not just remove one chair. It cuts rent money, morning coffee money, late night taxi money, delivery money, weekend shopping money, and the lazy little fantasy that says, my customers will always be here. One tech worker losing a job can quietly wipe out income for 5, 10, 7, even 10 other people before they fully understand what happened. In this video, I'll show you why AI layoffs can hit entire neighborhoods, turn busy apartment buildings into rows of silent, empty units, and leave a local economy gasping like someone has a hand around its throat. Right now, you probably have a few very real questions. What does AI have to do with my rental income? Why should cafes, lunch spots, convenience stores, rideshare drivers, or delivery workers be nervous because of a chatbot? And if this domino effect is real, how do I stay out of its path? The answer is cold, but simple. A whole neighborhood around you may be living off white-collar spending, not off some stable economy people like to talk about. Let's be blunt. A lot of apartment zones, restaurants, and service businesses around tech centers are not thriving because their business model is genius. They are thriving because thousands of office workers show up every day, earn decent money, spend fast, hate cooking, hate long commutes, and swipe their cards for convenience. When AI starts wiping out that customer layer or squeezing their income hard, everything below them starts to crack. It does not explode in one loud moment. It bleeds out slowly. Rent comes in late. Shops get quieter. Rides get fewer. Then one day you look around and the whole street feels weak. And nobody can even point to the exact second the air got sucked out. Start with a picture that is easy to imagine. An apartment complex near a tech hub. 2 years ago, it was glowing almost every night. Young workers kept rolling in with suitcases. The elevators were always busy. The lobby always had someone ordering rides, ordering food, carrying a laptop in and out like the city would never sleep again. Landlords felt comfortable. Every time a lease ended, they raised the rent. Tenants complained a little, then paid anyway. Because it was close to work, easy to live in, easy to spend money in. Then AI showed up, not like a movie. No robots kicking down doors. No sirens. Just a few rounds of layoffs. A few teams merged. A few roles that were not needed the same way anymore. It sounded polite, but what it really meant was money started disappearing from that area. One person lost a job. Another got pushed into lower pay. Someone else got forced into remote work from a cheaper city. And then the suitcases started rolling the other way. People broke leases early. Vacant units started piling up. The building that once felt full of life suddenly had hallways with echo in them. Now put yourself in the shoes of a landlord. Before, you felt untouchable. You held the deposit. Rent kept rising. People were always asking about the unit. You looked at your phone and treated those rental messages like a law of nature. But life does not promise that cash flow keeps running forever. It only runs when people still have both the money and the reason to stay. And when white-collar tech workers start getting pushed into the wall by AI, the reason to stay in an expensive city can disappear fast. That is when the real pain starts. Not just from an empty unit. The deeper pain is liquidity. Old tenants move out and want their deposit back. New tenants do not show up. You lower the rent and still get nothing. Mortgage payments, repair costs, monthly bills. They all keep moving like a machine that feels sorry for no one. A lot of landlords who once felt like they held all the power suddenly learn what real panic feels like. Because AI does not need to rent your apartment to hurt you. It only needs to push your tenant out of a job. That is enough to crack the whole pretty investment story. But the damage does not stop at the apartment door. It spills onto the street fast. The lunch spot that used to stay packed with office workers starts seeing empty tables. The coffee shop that used to sell a mountain of cups every morning suddenly feels lighter. Drivers wait longer for rides. Delivery workers ride around more, but get fewer orders. It sounds small when you say it out loud, but that is exactly what the domino effect looks like when it first shows its face. One office job disappears. Then a whole chain of real-world spending starts breaking behind it. This is the part where many people lie to themselves. They say, AI does not eat pho. AI does not take taxis. AI does not rent apartments. Is Dro. It does not need to. It only needs to make the person who used to pay you disappear. That is the real hit. The physical world does not collapse because robots walk outside and steal your customers. It collapses because the money from the digital world gets cut first. And when that blood flow starts clogging, a neighborhood that once looked very healthy can go weak much faster than people expect. Now we get to the part many people treat like some distant theory, even though it hits the wallet very fast. When one tech worker loses a job, the first thing that disappears is not just a paycheck, it is a whole spending rhythm. Monthly rent, morning coffee, lunch outside, rides, gym memberships, random little purchases that add up into real revenue for a whole neighborhood. One person stepping out of the machine sounds small, but when hundreds, then thousands of people slow down at once, the area starts running out of breath. The brutal part is that it does not hit like a car crash. It hits like blood loss. Today, the shop feels just a little quieter. Next week, delivery workers wait a little longer. Next month, landlords cut rent and still cannot fill units. People still open their stores. They still smile. They still act normal. So everybody tells themselves, maybe it is not that bad yet. But this kind of revenue drop is nasty. It does not give you one huge shock that makes you run. It weakens you slowly, until one day you realize you have been surviving on savings and hope. Then the domino effect bites into the second layer. A landlord sees empty units and lowers the rent. But cutting rent does not mean the problem is fixed. Because once rent starts getting pushed down, the value people imagined in that property starts cracking too. Investors who plan to buy get nervous. Borrowers start losing sleep. One empty unit is manageable. 2 or 3 feel worse. Then a whole row starts sitting empty. And now, this is no longer a story about waiting for new tenants. It becomes a story about whether the cash flow survives at all. And do not forget this. When real estate in one area starts shaking, the local government feels it too. Tax revenue drops. Spending around the area drops. Public services feel pressure. Small businesses that lived off the daily movement of office workers start cutting hours, cutting staff, or shutting down completely. One layoff in a tech company may sound like a problem for one industry, but now it is touching the cashier, the server, the cleaner, the delivery worker, the driver. That is when you realize AI is not just replacing jobs. It is shrinking an entire economic ecosystem. But there is something even more uncomfortable. When office workers get cut, they do not just spend less. They change the way they live. The people who still have jobs start feeling fear. Fear of being next. Fear of lower pay. Fear of losing bonuses. And when people are afraid, they hold on to money. They order less food, go out less, move less, buy fewer things they do not truly need. So even the people who have not been laid off yet still help cool the neighborhood down, not because they are bad people, because survival instinct makes people pull in tight. That is how a city can still look bright on the outside while turning cold on the inside. The office towers are still there. The signs are still there. Cafes still play music. But the spending rhythm has changed. Money does not move as fast as it used to. It sits in wallets longer. And local economies hate that. They live on circulation. When money slows down, the small seller dies first. The highly leveraged one dies later. In the end, the feeling of prosperity that made the area look hot starts turning into something strange. Everything is still standing, but the life inside it has already started leaking out. A lot of people still think, maybe a few tech cities get hurt, but other places will be fine. That is wrong. The economy now is wired together like a mess of cables. A big company cuts workers in California, and one of those workers may be renting in Texas, ordering food through an app, using rideshare, buying from a small online store in another state, and sending money back to family somewhere else. One paycheck disappearing in one place can make a lot of other places stumble too. Slowly. Yes, but very real. And AI makes this colder than an old-style recession. In older downturns, people could still hope that after a few bad quarters, the economy would recover and jobs would come back. But with AI, once many jobs are removed, they may never return. The company has learned how to run with fewer people. The manager has gotten used to squeezing more out of a smaller team. Investors have gotten addicted to cleaner margins. That means this may not just be a rough season, it may be a new version of the game. And the people still clinging to the hope that everything will go back to normal may be the ones who get hit last. But hardest. But wait. Do not hear all this and swing to the other extreme. Like every tech city is doomed. Every rental unit will sit empty, and every lunch spot near an office is about to die. That is too easy, and honestly, too childish. Not every place breaks the same way. Not every neighborhood is equally weak. Places with a more diverse economy, more kinds of jobs, and more layers of customers have a better chance of holding up. The places that depend too heavily on one class of high-paid office workers, those are the ones AI can choke the hardest. The issue is not whether a city is big or small. The issue is whether it stands on one leg or several. That is the real turning point. In the next few years, the losers may not be the people in the wrong city. The losers may be the people who believed the money around them would stay stable forever. The landlord who thought tenants would always be there. The cafe owner who thought office workers would always keep ordering. The driver who thought rush hour would always stay busy. That belief is the dangerous part. Because once AI starts pulling people out of the system, any business built on old spending habits starts showing how fragile it really was. And in the next part, I am going to give you 3 practical ways to avoid drowning in this domino effect. At this point, a lot of people will start trying to calm themselves down. They will say, fine, I do not live near a tech hub. I do not rent to software people. I do not sell coffee to office workers. So I should be fine. It sounds reasonable, but real life does not move in neat little spreadsheet boxes. When one person loses a job, they do not just cut one expense. They pull on the whole rhythm of a family, a neighborhood, and the people who were quietly living off that income. The pain is not in one customer disappearing. The pain is in a whole layer of customers, the kind that used to spend easily, all tightening up at the same time. That is when you see the real face of a local economy. A lot of places look strong, but underneath, they are just fattened by one concentrated stream of money. From the outside, it looks busy, bright, full of rising home prices and packed businesses. But inside, it can be much thinner than people think. Once that main customer group gets squeezed by AI, the whole area can be exposed as a place standing on one leg. And when one leg breaks, you do not need an earthquake for the whole body to fall. Once you understand that, you stop asking whether AI will take your job directly. You start asking, whose money is feeding my life? And what happens if that money shuts off? All right, let's talk survival. First move. Stop looking only at your own job. Start looking at whose wallet your income depends on. That is a question a lot of people avoid because it exposes reality fast. A landlord needs to ask what industry the tenants work in. A restaurant owner needs to ask what type of customers keep the place alive. Drivers, delivery workers, shop owners. Everybody needs to look again and ask whether their income relies too much on one customer group that AI can hit hard. If the answer is yes, then you are standing on ground that looks solid, but may already be hollow underneath. This step is not about fear. It is about ending the sleepwalk. Once you see clearly what money stream is feeding you, you finally have a chance to pivot. The smart people in the next few years will not be the ones pretending to stay calm. They will be the ones who spot dangerous dependence before it starts choking them. Does that sound dry? Sure, but it is a lot better than spending this month acting like everything is fine. Then waking up next month to find your old customers gone and no backup group ready to replace them. Second move. Diversify your survival path as early as you can. If you rent out property, do not build your whole financial plan around one type of tenant. If you run a business or a service, do not cling to one customer group just because they spent freely during the good years. If you work for someone else, do not let your skill set serve only one industry that AI is slowly stripping apart. You need another branch. You need another customer type, another need you can serve, or another income stream you can build. You do not need to make it dramatic. But you do need to make it real. Third move. Protect cash flow more than feelings. Sounds simple, but a lot of people go down because they fail at exactly this. When things are still going well, people borrow more, spend more, raise their lifestyle, and quietly assume next month will look just as good as this month. That is the trap. In an AI shift, where jobs can vanish faster than people can even process the bad news, you need to value cash, endurance, and the ability to survive a slower season. It is not sexy. Nobody claps for someone cutting risk. But the people who survive are rarely the ones who look the coolest. Usually, they are the ones who stay sharp, stay stubborn, and drop their ego early enough to protect themselves. At the end of the day, this is not just a story about AI taking jobs. It is a story about how one cut in the digital world can make real life on the street start shrinking. From rental units to lunch spots, to rideshare trips, to the convenience store downstairs. All of it can take a hit. Even if none of those people can write a single line of code, that is the dangerous part. Because most people only see the first victim. They do not see the line of victims standing behind them. So if this video left you with a chill in your chest, good. That feeling has value. It forces you to look again at where your money comes from, who your customers really are, and whether your whole setup depends too heavily on one class of people that AI may squeeze next. Do not panic. But stop being naive. And if this video hit the exact nerve you have been trying to avoid, subscribe to the channel. Because here, I am not talking to make you feel better. I am talking. So you wake up in time. I'm Max. And if there is one thing you should remember after this video, it is this. Staying far away from tech does not mean you are outside the AI storm. Maybe it will not hit you from the front, but it can still hit you through your customer's wallet, through rent prices, through revenue, through the whole rhythm of the neighborhood your life depends on. That is the kind of hit that comes later, but sinks deeper. In the next video, I am going even further into a harder question. When white-collar workers start losing pay and jobs because of AI, which everyday industries fall first? And who keeps thinking they are safe right up until the last minute? That one will not be easy to hear, but you should hear it. For now, leave one short comment. If the main money stream feeding your life disappeared for 6 months, how long could you hold on? That answer may be the sharpest wake-up call you need right now.